So I'm sitting on a rear porch in Portland, Maine, and my hosts are amazed that we don't have rear porches in Europe. In fact, this house has a front porch as well. And it's not very big, just a little 3-bedroomed house. But yes, it has porch front and rear, so that you can sit out with this is insect mesh, windows are open. You can sit out in this airy place, and it is interesting, the style of American life. Portland is very appealing, is almost European in its feel, but equally well deeply American. The wooden houses, each on their own plot, little rows of them, few barriers between the houses and the road in front, but people have nice gardens, I should say yards, shouldn't I? With flowers. It's a very appealing place, rather hippie. Right by the beach, you can walk to the beach from here, which I did this morning. As a European architect, I find the domestic architecture of America fascinating. But I didn't come here to look at architecture. I came here to go sailing, and I was now about to embark on the Maine Island Trail. This extraordinary initiative has set up a series of wild campsites the length of the Maine coast. It is a non-profit organisation, and the sites are maintained by a team of volunteers who mostly give their time for free. It is the sort of initiative that shows the best of America. Joined a rally of local Dinghy Cruising Association boats, crewing for Steve aboard his very capable Caledonia yawl. Mist cloaked the horizon, and there was no view to be seen, but an interesting collection of boats surrounded me, including the extraordinary Teacup here. We rowed out into a flat calm. Boats around us rising and falling languidly in the silky swell. Sisu here is a John Welsford navigator. Boats with engines ended up towing the others in long strings as we motored southwards down the coast. Our first night was to be spent at Mosquito Head, anchoring our boats in the sheltered bay just to the west. As Steve rowed the Caledonia yawl out to anchor her in deep water, an extraordinary flotilla of boats lay scattered in the bay in the mist. I think of Draskams as quintessentially British boats, but there were two in our flotilla. Teaser had very ample ground tackle.
Looks likely.
Out in the bay, other boats started to sprout boom tents so their crews could sleep afloat. Meanwhile, Steve started to erect our tent on the shore.
Yeah, nice one.
Those who care about the islands will care for them, announces the poster by the campsite. Even in our modern tents and our modern dinghies, we were living for a while, perhaps, in the spirit of the American philosopher Thoreau. I did not wish to live what was not life, Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, as he wrote in perhaps his most famous work, Walden.
Highs in the lower 70s. Light and variable winds becoming.
Just saying.
Gotta duct tape my
I'll meet you there, guys.
That evening we planned the next day's cruise together. The chart book showed an interestingly indented coast of cliffs and offshore islands, but this sadly was likely to be invisible in the mist. Fortunately, I'd spent the previous week at the wooden boat school in Egmoggin Reach, a little bit further to the north, so I knew the beauties of the Maine coast. This was a good thing, as it was just as misty the next morning as Steve and I sailed back northward through narrow sounds of granite rocks cloaked in coniferous forests. There was little to see in the murk, and we soon lost the rest of the fleet. I steered the boat as Steve navigated on an app on his smartphone, as well as the chart book. That morning we'd worked out where we were heading for, Monroe Island, just off Owl's Head. We drifted slowly up the sound between the island and the mainland, looking desperately for somewhere sheltered. Jabbing. It's caught on the bollock. Best anchorage we could find was at the north end of the island, albeit open to the Atlantic swell. Steve rowed loon, towing the tender Lunette well offshore, and laid an anchor, then came rowing back in. Then Steve tried to communicate with the rest of our lost flotilla, but there was no mobile reception and we couldn't pick them up on the VHF. We pitched tent on a bluff overlooking the Shingle Bay, and then, suddenly, we saw other boats. Teacup and Ripple had managed to find us. Hello! And they brought news that the rest of the flotilla had found another safe haven. So soon there was a row of boats anchored, bow and stern, in the bay. Although we were not far from the town of Rockland, this island anchorage felt like the wildest and bleakest of spots. The island is uninhabited, apart from a thriving population of ticks, which is a problem in this area. We changed our plans for the next day and decided to round Owl's Head to the north. This is a famous beauty spot, but we saw very little until we were reaching into the port of Rockland, protected by a long breakwater and housing many of the beautiful local schooners. We moored to a buoy and lowered sail. Rockland is not all that big a place, but we felt that we had returned back into the bustle of civilization.
Get your poop can in too.
Ripple is also an Ian Uhtred Caledonia yawl, and it was interesting to see the difference between her and Loon. Finally, little Teacup joined us on the pontoon, showing off her comfortable padded seats and thwarts. It is a wise man who designs a boat for comfort afloat. As we had not originally planned to end up in Rockland, 3 drivers had to go in a taxi to pick up their cars and trailers. But this flexibility is one of the beauties of sailing in a small trailable boat. Then it was fascinating to see Teacup being recovered onto her special trailer.
Now, when it gets to the top, it's going to want to drop on you all. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
This was the last of my sailing trips in America, and I could now look back on a series of rich experiences on the east coast of that mighty continent. I had been there a month and seen many ships and boats and met many interesting people. I had seen a whaleboat being rowed at speed. I had watched a traditional schooner anchor in front of me. I had visited the great city of Boston, where the freedom of the United States was first declared. I had seen many things that seemed strange and different. I had been to a traditional American diner, where the food was fast and hot and very copious. But sadly, recently, Europe and the United States have become estranged, and I am European. And so, for me, the Stars and Stripes no longer means what it once did. We look to the United States to defend our freedom, but now that trust has gone. So although there is so much that is good and noble and progressive about the States, my visit ends tinged with sadness, because it is as if I have lost an old friend. Now the time had come for me to return to the old world. So I returned to Boston, to the ordinary surroundings of Boston Logan Airport, my head still full of impressions about my time in America. On an ordinary street corner nearby my hotel, I found this restaurant, Angela's Taste of Puebla. It was my last meal in America. It was goodbye to the streets of clapboard houses and the yellow school buses. Airport queues now, and a night flight over the Atlantic. Then the TGV across France and back to Brittany. Back from the United States and recovering. So I've come into my local city of Quimper. Not many people know about this little part of Quimper. There's a lovely little priory garden and the Abbey Church here. America has vigour and a great deal of natural beauty, but what one misses there is the sheer age of buildings like this. And so I return to the battered, grey fishing port where I live, and everything feels comfortable and familiar, but yet now strangely different.
Walk with me. Let's leave the past behind. Walk with me. There's something else we need to find. Say you'll go, don't make me wait. There's no need to hesitate. Let's make footprints